July 17th, the first year of King Taejo's reign, King Taejo ascends the throne at Sikangong Palace. Under the ascension of the White House, King Taejo ascended the throne at Sikangong Palace. Prior to this, on the 12th of this month, King Gong Yang attempted to become King Taejo's priest in the future, to hold a drinking party, and to form an alliance with King Taejo. Sejong by Gukryum and others informed Wang Bai, now that the king has lost the duty of the king, and the people have already left, he cannot be the master of resignation and the people, so I ask you to destroy it. It was decided that King Gong Yang would be overthrown in accordance with King Taejo's instruction. However, when King Gong Yang finally arrived at Siwagan, in Bukchindong, with Jung Hee-jai, King Munha Pyongri, and declared the instruction, I originally didn't want to be king, but many officials forced me to be king. How can I not disobey my servants' feelings because I am not aware of fraud? Tears soon flowed down 2 or 3 streams. Finally, when he passed over the throne, and went to Wonju, Biguan, placed the national seal in Wandaebajian Hall, and went ahead with all political affairs, and decided by naming it. On the 13th Imjin Dabla declared the school site, and made Taejo a Gamnot Guksa. On the 16th Yumi by Gukryum and Jo Jinyi, Kim So-hyung, Lee Ji, Lee Hwan, Jung Hee-jai, Lee Ji-ran, Nam Nam, Chang Sa-gil, Jung In-chan, Cho In-ok, Park In-jae, and Park Min-jo, and Park Min-jo, Rim, Han Sang-kyung, Hwang Jio-jem, Im In-chung, Chang So-jin, Min Yo-ik, and others went to King Taejo's mansion with the national bird, and people filled the alley. The king said that the rest of the people wanted to kill him, because he was not happy alone, and showed it in his face, and did not tilt his head and talk. I can't kill you out of loyalty. Taejo tried hard to dry his teeth. On this day, several wives of the family members met Taejo and Kangbi, and ate only rice with water, and all the wives were surprised and afraid, and they scattered to the north gate. Taejo closed the door and prevented them from coming in. But at sunset, Jeolium and others pushed the door, and immediately entered the inner house, and placed the gukse on the office building, and Taejo lost his gojo because he was afraid of it. When he finally came out of the Chumin gate, holding Lee Ching-woo, hundreds of white officials lined up, and bowed, and beat the drum to sing Mance. Taejo was very afraid, and seemed to have no place to tolerate on his own. So he recommended that he join forces to ascend the throne. The presence of a king in the country only makes the people comfortable underneath, and the resignation above. In Goryeo, it has been almost 500 years since the founding of the Joseon dynasty, but when King Gunman became king, he suddenly passed away without a son. At that time, the king's memorial service had already been abandoned for 15 years. Since he stole the throne of King Dongman's son, Wu, who was falsely desired, because he wanted to strengthen his general performance by gaining as much power as he wanted. Wu soon did as he pleased, slaughtered the innocent, and raised an army to attack Liaodong. He was the first to advocate the cause and return the army, but Wu refused the throne because he was afraid of his sins. Accordingly, Yi Saok and Cho Minsu joined Liam, Shinwu's wife, and helped his son Cheng to establish him as king, and Wang's successor was abolished twice. This was a period when heaven commanded the public as a king, but he was humble and refused to take the throne, and instead appointed Zhongchang Buongun to temporarily manage state affairs, so he was able to comfort the people by accepting the precarious resignation. On the previous day, Shinwu's evil was known by many people, but Lee Saok and Wu Hyunbo, the group, insisted on being seduced and planned to recover the throne against Shinwu. But the crime was revealed, so they secretly sent Yin Yi and Li Chou, the king of China, and fled to the country. What can't you do when you can't do this? The officer and the tribute alternately raised the evacuation site and said, since Lee Saok and Wu Hyunbo were guilty of sajik and caused anger to the people, we should control the crime. Dozens of times, and Cheng Changgun was more afraid of the two local secretaries because they were not afraid of the law. While Kim Jong-il was on the run, he formed a party and caused a commotion. Kim Jo-bo and others attempted to respond to the changes, but the so-called Hwaran's rise did not stop every day. However, Jung Chang-gun did not take care of the great policy for Sajik and the people, so if there were more people, he would forgive them. If a plan was decided to help build a king, the meritorious service would be in Sajik, and if thanks were given to the people, they would listen to the plight of the women and patience on the left and right. If they were strong and did not flatter, they would also punish them. When the stars changed several times, and Yodel took turns, Cheng Changgun resigned and went to the priest after realizing that he had already lost the king's duty, and that the people's hearts had already left, and he could not become the people's master. However, the affairs of the military government and state affairs are extremely cumbersome and extremely important, so he must take the throne and meet the expectations of God and people. King Taejo refused, stating, since ancient times, the king has to have a mandate of heaven. How dare I bear it when I am truly a man of no virtue? At last, he did not respond, as it was more desperate to recommend that Deso Sinrio, Haoyang, and Kiro, etc., joined forces to escort him and rise to the throne without stepping down. King Taejo reluctantly struggled to Sikangong Palace. On this day, when hundreds of white officials greeted him in a line from the west side of the palace gate, Taejo got off the horse and walked into the hall to ascend the throne, avoiding the royal seat and standing inside the pillar, receiving condolences from various officials. He ordered officials above the Panseo of King Yukio to ascend to the top of the hall. Even when I became the prime minister, I was always afraid that I would not be able to fulfill my duties with fear. But how could I have thought that I would see this today? If I am healthy, I can avoid it even with a horse. But now that I am sick and cannot use my hands and feet properly, the lords should cooperate with each other to assist the less virtuous. In response, he ordered the minor ministers of the central and local regions of the Goryeo Dynasty to handle political affairs, as they used to, and finally returned to the mansion.